Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. So, yeah, I'm the communications guy for Prezi, but I was not always the bad guy. I was a journalist before. I was a political correspondent, and listening to Dan's inspiring presentation, I'm considering to switch back. So perhaps if there are such great opportunities what Wise is offering, then I should consider to go back. But I remember that when I was a journalist, just like you guys, I assume, I had every morning several phone calls to my contacts, to my sources. I was just cruising through the agenda for the National Assembly, what is going to happen. I was talking to politicians to be ready to talk to my editor during the editorial meetings in the morning to come up with my suggestions, what to put into the bulletin. And I was suggesting, like, why not to cover what is the National Assembly is doing, like budget or new law comes to effect, which was like, yeah, kind of like it, but how about a cute hippo who is just born in the zoo? And we had this constant argue, and I guess you guys have the same dilemma from time to time, what to put. And eventually we always arrived to a point when the editor just pulled out a graph from how the viewership changes. And she just pointed out, like, look, there's the cute animal story. And you want to see where your political story is? Just like there. So when we had this kind of argument, it was always like interesting versus important. What to put into the bulletin? Interesting stories or important stories? And this is something which is on for a long time, especially now that, as I just mentioned, that we are in the age of data, when we can completely measure what fascinates our viewers, our users. And when we say it's important, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's interesting enough. So obviously, Prezi, when it started back in 2009, it was not only the crisis, which was just about to start, but also we had to somehow catch a moment to be interesting enough to be covered. And our very first momentum was we were going to a pitching contest. Actually, our CEO, Peter Arway, was going to a pitching contest organized by the Next Web conference, by the Next Web in Amsterdam. And I was not at the company back then, and he had the idea, okay, so perhaps I should stand out from a lot of startuppers wearing jeans and sneakers by wearing a tie and a suit. Well, I'm not sure the most compelling idea ever, but actually, Prezi ended up to be the second in this startup competition, which is pretty good, but our real prize was this, a TechCrunch article published overnight with the title, Prezi is the coolest online presentation tool I've ever seen. This was our real reward, when people actually covered our product because they found it's interesting and important. This was our very first momentum, which helped us to actually being exposed. So, am I saying that having a TechCrunch article and you'll have a company with 250 employees, 60 million users, offices all around the world in Budapest, Seoul, and San Francisco? Well, obviously not. Because one hit is just, as you all know, just one hit. Let me put you something on the screen. Who knows what's this? Anyone? It's called ELO. You remember? Rings a bell? They launched a year ago. Vox, they had 31,000 new users per hour. They were widely covered. Guardian was writing about them as that they are pretty and private, and they were not, even themselves were not expecting to be that popular. New York Times was covering them. Even Jimmy Fallon, in his show, was discussing the pros and cons joining ELO. And none of you remember them. And actually, just this summer, Business Insider published a piece that Elo tries to make a comeback by launching an iPhone app. So obviously, having one hit wouldn't help you to get anywhere. And the main reason for it is the noise we have out there. Look at this graph. I'm sorry, it's too small. But actually, it says Google Play Store has 1.6 million apps, while Apple App Stores have 1.5 million apps already available. And more important than that, actually, 1,000 new apps per day is launched. 1,000 new startups, companies are desiring to get coverage from you. It's crazy. This is a noise which is crazy. And if I add another number, there are more than 500,000 new companies in every month in the US. Obviously, not all of them are going after any kind of publicity, but still, it is a really big noise. So obviously, having this one moment won't help you to have a globally successful company. Prezi was obviously doing something else apart from communication. Like, we set up rings of experts as people wanted to have nicely designed Prezis. They wanted to have Prezi training, so we couldn't and we didn't have to open up offices all around the world, but we had rings of experts globally who became our advocate in a given country. We had real ambassadors. At every university, we opened up an ambassador program where students could apply to be a Prezi ambassador, and they were spreading the word about Prezi. In exchange, they returned a lot of trainings, and when they finished universities, they already had some experience, some working experience. And also, we were going after speaking opportunities and convincing people to use Prezi. And I don't know if you know this guy. He's Bono from U2, and he was giving his TED speech by Prezi, which was a really great hit. So these words, which were not based on communications, but based on communications, we were going after content. We had the same thinking what journalists have, what you guys have, when you are thinking about how to put a story on your paper or on your site. And just to reveal some of the thinking, some of the strategy we were using, let me show you a video which was recorded, I guess, almost 2 years ago. Let's see, it's going to be Michael Bay, director of Armageddon or Transformers. And he was speaking at a Samsung press conference.
What I try to do is, as a director, I try to... the type is all off, sorry, but I'll just wing this.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah, we'll wing it right now. I try to take people on an emotional ride, and
the curve? How do you think it's going to impact how viewers experience your movies?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank Michael Bay for joining us.
A modest applause, right? I'm not showing you this video because I want to make fun of him. This is something which can happen to all of us. And this is something we all fear of happening to us. When we are on a stage talking to an audience, we just freeze down. And we just can't deliver our message. We just can't nail our presentation, yeah? And this is the thinking. We realized that even Michael Bay can be in a situation like this. So what ordinary people, they obviously can do the same. So we just published a blog post about the 10 most common rookie mistakes in public speaking. They were giving a content to our users they might find useful, which helps them to avoid such situations. We put it in a Prezi, and if you can see, in the very bottom, it had 470,000 views without being published in any major publication. It was not on Guardian, it was not published anywhere. only on our blog site, and obviously shared via social. Because people was going after a content what can help them. Also, when we are thinking about when we were thinking about what stories to put together, what stories to put on Prezi, then we are always listening to what's going on around us, what people are talking about. And one of the other examples we used was 3 years ago, and it's amazing, it's been already 3 years, is the US presidential election. Right after the election day, we put together this Prezi. It's a pretty simple Prezi. You can see the speeches, you can see the results, the electoral vote, the results state by state, and obviously some other details, but it was not a deep dive analysis. So if anyone was interested in learning the real details of the election, obviously it could go to Politico.com or New York Times or wherever, but we were going after people who just wanted to have a broad overview, who just wanted to understand what was going there. And we were once again sharing this Prezi through our social sites, and we had 140,000 views. And these people were those people who were not general newsreaders, because those people obviously had those information about the election, so they were not interested in it. Or if I may give you another example, that was happening in the Netherlands. Is there anyone from the Netherlands here? Hi, guys. So perhaps you know that every year the king is giving a speech around September. And I try to be real polite, but it's not the most fascinating speech you have ever heard. I can see them smiling, so perhaps I survive. Anyway, so it's a long speech, but still he's the king, so you should at least listen to it, right? Even if it's long. But we understood that people are not necessarily listening to the whole speech. So we decided to reach out to a medium and team up with them to put it on a Prezi. Why not to put the king's speech on Prezi? And we had no luck. None of the mediums agreed to cooperate with us. So, once again, we decided to do it on our own, and we put together this Prezi. It was super simple. 7 frames, the 7 most exciting part of the speech. Only in the Netherlands, we had 100,000 views overnight. Because this pre-digested way was good for the users. Okay, if it's like that, I'm okay to listening to the speech. If it's like a 2 hours long speech, perhaps I'm not. So what was happening? This year, 2 mediums, The Telegraph and Kids Week, were approaching us that they want to team up with us to work on a Prezi and publish it overnight, immediately, right after the speech. Because Telegraph understood that if they want to find a platform, if they want to find something which helps them to deliver the content, they can turn to Prezi. And in addition to that, there is a comedy show at the Dutch national television called Koofnoen. I hope this is how you can pronounce. And they were putting a piece about the princesses on the Prezi, how the princesses working on a Prezi. And actually, this piece had almost 900,000 views. This comedy piece. So this was the way how the traditional, let's say, or digital / traditional media started to use Prezi. And what is Prezi best at? To explain complicated things, to put things into context. Let me give you a test. Can you please name 5 appliances in your kitchen? Just loudly. What do you have in your kitchen? Coffee machine, refrigerator, toaster, microwave. The rest don't have kitchen. Okay. So what I assume was happening, those lucky ones who have a kitchen, that you actually imagined a picture of your kitchen, and you just zoomed onto the counter, you saw the coffee machine, and you saw the grinder. This is what was happening to you? This is how you mentioned the appliances you have? Who did like this? Come on, raise your hand. Okay, thanks for having me. Anyway, normally this is what should happen. Because this is how the human brain works. We use visual landmarks. And the other important thing that you don't put together a list of bulletin points. You don't put together like, okay, I have a kitchen and I have a grinder there, a coffee machine, things like that. But what you do, you remember these things and you remember their context. How the coffee machine is standing, where is it standing? Or if I can give you another example, if you come to a city you've never been before, like Budapest, the way you find your way back to the hotel, for example, or somewhere where you want to go, is to remember visual landscapes. I need to turn right at the, I don't know, the big house, and then I reach my hotel. So Prezi has been started to use to explain complex stories by the media. And it was a tipping point. Previously, we were doing some actions on our own. But let me give you a few examples when actually journalists adopted Prezi because they found a story what they wanted to explain by Prezi. For example, this guy, Michael Hainsworth, he's from Canada. He's working from Business News Network. And he uses Prezi for every day on his show to explain the financial, let's say, complex topics. For example, in this case, McDonald's. They were doing a turnaround plan, so he put together this Prezi where he can explain that how they're gonna cut $300 million in costs, how they're gonna expand their franchise, and obviously, what are the regions McDonald's is focusing on. So he can explain easily what is the plan for McDonald's. It could have been told orally without using any materials, but by using a Prezi, it helps you to imagine. It's like infographics. We all use infographics in our work because actually it is a powerful tool. Or giving another example, Laura Setrokian, she's a journalist and she's covering Syria for a while, not only in the past few months when the refugee crisis has started, but when the whole civil war started. And he put Syria stories on a Prezi to explain to people who've never heard about Syria before that how big is it, where is it from the US, for example. She put all the basic data about the country on a Prezi, even the food Syrian people were having. And actually, it helped her to engage viewers in a story and to explain what was going on, what was the timeline, how we ended up to have such crisis, what we have right now in Syria. And this format allowed her to give a platform which was exciting enough for her readers to follow her. So, and obviously, every time when someone uses Prezi to tell a story, that obviously helps Prezi's communication, because obviously when you use Prezi, it is already, we can say the medium is the message, and in our case, it's 100%. That when someone uses Prezi, it helps us to spread the word. So that's why we are thinking like a journalist, and we are giving content which is, on the first level, useful to our users, widely discussed, and complex. So a perfect storytelling tool for everyone. And my takeaway, if you want to have a successful startup, or if you want to run a successful editorials, you need to stop take people as just blind clicking machines. Instead, you need to understand them, that they are actual human beings who are interested in stories, and you should always talk about them, never about us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Csaba Faix. Please stay on stage. Lovely.
I'm not moving anywhere.
Any questions? Please stand up. What would you say when we look at news media companies all over the world? How good are we at storytelling? When in general, you would say.
I would say that the successful mediums are really great in storytelling. So I would say this is what makes the difference. If you are able to do good storytelling, then you'll be a successful medium. If not, then perhaps you'll fail.
So, and what's the most important thing you would say if you are one of those that feel, well, maybe I'm not the brightest one, you know, maybe it's just mostly text and images, and maybe you put a video in there, but not that many infographics. What should I start with? You say start with them. How should I think?
You mean the users?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just think about it, how many pieces of information an ordinary user needs to digest a day. How many lines of text a user reads, not only from news, but in his work or in her work. And if you think about it, I want to help them to understand the story, and I want to help them not to be overwhelmed by another bunch of text, then perhaps you can understand their needs.
And what's a secret trick that you could tell us? Something that always works. If we have a really complicated matter, you know, as you said, the refugee crisis or political issues that are really complicated, economics, what would you start with? Is there one secret trick that always works?
No, there's no such things. I'm sorry to say. We had several failures as well. So there were contents we thought worked brilliantly and simply just didn't work for several reasons. But I think one good point that if it's locally important and if it's relevant to the users or to the people you are talking to, then you have a good chance to be successful.
Oh, a question.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Please state your name.
Hi, this is Bülent Bumay from Hürriyet, Turkey. How does your cooperation works with the media companies? I mean, like the Netherlands example. Like, you produce the story and share with them, or they ask it for?
Yeah, I mean, this is something which is evolving right now. In the Netherlands, for example, in the first year, we did it on our own. And the second year, we teamed up with an editorial guy from the Telegraph, for example, because they were helping us. Obviously, if it's branded and comes under the Telegraph's name and brand, they are responsible for the content. So in that case, we were giving them the designing capabilities, and they were responsible for the content. And it differs from time to time and from location to location. What we found the best when we work together with an editorial. So instead of just hijacking a news by, hey, here is the content, use it. It's way better if you work together on that content.
Another question here.
Sorry?
I think this will be the last question, then we have to hit to the break. Please continue the break. Yes.
Okay.
He was asking me about if there was a business model, or if there's a business model. But no, I mean, we are happy to provide a platform, and we are happy to work with the editorials, and they were happy to work with us. So it's a mutual win-win situation.
Yeah. One more.
Yes.
One final one.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Paulo Mira from the US. I'm interested in learning how you guys are tracking the stories, and if you can help whoever is designing the stories into, learn more about it, and along the way create better stories.
So you are asking where are we? Sorry, it's hard to hear you. So if you just could repeat.
If you guys are tracking the stories somehow so that you can learn along the time and help us create better stories in the future.
Well, as I said, there's no real secret. What we find that, for example, when it's a complex story and you need to see the relations, and actually in most of the journalistic stories you are using, then it is a powerful tool. And speaking of design, we are working with editorials to train them, to help them to work on a prezi, how to put together a prezi. And it depends. There are cooperations when we keep constantly working, and there are some other when we are just giving a training, and then you do it on your own.
So we're all excited to try Prezi then. A big hand for Csaba Faix.
Thank you very much.